can afford to go by any bad road in the Jeep. But he was bloody clearing me. I said, forget your business now. Take me back.
Yeah, he said, I don't want to go. I said, no, big cement plant, big business. Anyway, that was the start of the journey when I understood that very few people in India are actually delivering outcomes to the client. As JP Group, what I wanted was to save energy. I wanted somebody to come and sell me energy savings. This is very important to understand what you're selling, right? So most companies I found were selling products. They were saying, buy this LED, you'll save energy. Buy this BLDC fan, you'll save energy. Buy this waste heat recovery system, you'll save energy. Buy this efficient compressor, you'll save energy. But I didn't want products. As a company, I wanted cost savings. And out of 130, there were only about 10 companies which were actually selling cost savings, right? And along with cost savings, you have quality improvement, you have sustainability improvement, etc. But what you're selling is cost savings, so he was one of them. And, learned a lot of things from there. Originally, I thought I will do anything in energy efficiency, industrial, commercial, etc. But few things about business which I'd like to share, which I understood. One is you need to know what are your sales cycles like. So I chose buildings because sales cycles are much shorter than factories. In a factory, as a person employed in JP Group, it was taking me 2 years to get any project done. So I thought if I'm starting a business, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. If I'm starting a business and I'm waiting 2 years for a business to actually happen, this company will never go anywhere. So first thing is short sales cycle, right? Second thing is what you have to offer to a customer should be substantial in impact. Very, very big. You can't offer a customer 2% savings or 5% savings because they're not interested. It will go away and be lost in the noise of data. So it has to be very substantial, the impact that you make. The other word that stuck with me was simple. You have to make your offer very simple. So, energy efficiency obviously is an industry and ESCOs where a lot of people have tried but not really succeeded. And what I learned was from this experience that mostly people don't succeed because the solutions are very complex for customers to understand. They are saying first we'll make a baseline, there'll be 20 numbers in the baseline, there'll be a graph, and based on that graph we'll tell you and show you how much energy you're saving. It's too complex for an Indian engineer or any engineer to understand what is the saving. And every month he has to justify to his management that actually this company has saved so much energy. So if it is a complex formula based on which you are justifying every month what is the bill, it's never going to work. So simple, substantial. These are two words that stuck with me. If you want to do energy efficiency business, it has to be simple, it has to be substantial. Third one was profitable. It has to be profitable from day one for the customer. You can't tell the customer, first you invest this much money, then you'll save this much money. Because you know what, customers have their own business to run. So little story here, I was in, again, JP Hotel. So I went to the managing director of JP Hotels. I said, if you invest 2 crore rupees in your own hotel, I will guarantee a saving of 1 crore rupees per year. And you know what answer she gave me? She said, Arjun, if I had a budget of 2 crore rupees, I will redo my lobby. Why the hell will I invest in chillers and pumps and automation system in my building? So that's when I learned, it's not about how profitable the investment is. They are just never going to put the capex in repair and maintenance and retrofits. They are going to put the capex towards their core business, which is to, make a beautiful lobby, or if it's a hospital to buy another MRI machine, or if it's a commercial building to do other stuff, branding. They are not going to put it in machines and all this to improve. So if you have a solution which gives profit on day one and continuously, then it's going to work. So my 3 learnings which I wanted to share: simple, substantial, profitable. These are 3 words that drive our business, and I would think they are the same 3 words that will drive any business in sustainability. So, approaching customers, these are 3 words that I suggest everybody keeps in mind. Now I'll keep quiet and ask Mr. Shah to share his journey, because much richer and more experienced than myself.
Thanks, Arjun. There are few things, I'll tell you, I'm passed out in 1972 from mechanical engineering discipline. And after that, last 40 years I'm in business. First few years I spent on industrial automation. In industrial automation, we had learned that things are most inefficient working people are doing today. and then they are not able to maintain the quality. So the automation is the one who is will improvise that, and that is what I did it. I was running a company which was more than 100 CR in automation. Subsequently, I sold that company because I had decided to, I had some passion. My passion was energy efficiency saving, energy saving. And last 17 years, I'm in energy saving business. When ESCO was not born in the country, the first experiment I did with ESCO, there is a product called medium voltage variable frequency drive. This has been used generally in the large motors where you have the 1 megawatt, 2 megawatt motor and variable torque like a fan or pump where there's always a big opportunity to save energy anywhere from 20% to 30%. I approached one of the power plant. They said, it may be true, but we will not risk ourselves. A, we will not risk our process. B, we don't want to risk on your commitment of saving. All right. Then we discussed technically how do we solve this problem. Technical problem we solved providing the bypass to them so that if anything goes wrong with my product, he can go back to his system within a fraction of a second. So technically he then convinced, fine, this solves my problem. But he says, my organization doesn't willing to invest that 1 CR which you are asking for. I explained to them, your payback is just 1 year and 3 months. It makes sense for you to invest such a, because ROI works out to be about 70%. They said, okay, that is your view of point of view. We will not hang ourselves. Are you willing to hang yourself? That is ESCO. What is ESCO? Is you must willing to hang yourself. And I did that. We have successfully shown them the results in first 3-4 months. And I'll tell you now the name I must tell you. It is a Reliance. So after that, I had not sold that product. They bought that product. We started like that on ESCO. See friends, that's one more good thing I will wish to tell you, my experience, by learning. Whatever I learned, I wanted to share with you guys. A, energy saving or energy efficiency business is a low-hanging fruit. Generally, the payback depends on the solution, but doesn't exceed more than 2 years, and that is which gives an ROI of 50%. You look at any renewable project, no ROI is less than 4 or 5 years. And it takes about 2 years to start earning the saving or whatever you can say. So it is a very, very important from the industry point of view. No new land is required, no power connection required, everything existing in your plant. You just go and apply right solution and start saving it. We almost have about 5-6 different industrial solutions. And I must tell you, there is, without naming the customer, because it's unfair, without his permission, I should not mention the name. One of the steel plant, they were venting their steam because their process requirement was through the PRDS. Generally, they were generating with about 62 kg and process requirement was 3 kg. And the saturated steam was there. So they are using PRDS and killing the whole energy. We audited the plant, we studied it and advised them, sir, there is an opportunity to generate energy, putting a microturbine across your PRDS parallel to it. Anything goes bad again, see every customer with your solution doesn't want his process to get affected if you fail. He needs positively always redundant system. That means he must go back to his original, whatever he was doing. So we put there across that turbine, and we are today generating 3.5 megawatt of power per hour. His payback is 5 months. Is it not amazing? This is exciting than seeing a beautiful girl. Honestly. What is the point? This is so exciting if you are an industry guy. 3.5 megawatt you are wasting and it's getting back to you. So there's a huge opportunity in every industry. I will tell you today, as far as the cement is the only area or vertical in which we have reached to the world standard per ton consumption, or we are little better than the world standard. But we are not reached to the decarbonization level or level of world standard in cement too, okay? Because it is maybe the dust control system which we have that doesn't have. Still is in one area where we have lot to do. Why? Now the new system has come up, new taxation system has come up. If I have to export my steel to European countries, there will be CBAM, carbon boundary adjustment trade tax, or you can say management. So CBAM is anywhere about 15%. If today, I'll just mention to you numbers which will give you the realistic idea. India today exports 3 million tons of steel to Europe. After Korea, we are second. If we have become 15% higher, we'll become the last. So we have no choice than to reduce our carbon emission. We are at today 2.2 tons per ton of steel. Korea is at 1.7. China is already 1.9 or 1.15 somewhere. So look at the opportunity exists of the decarbonization level. Let's see, I'll tell you. No technology exists without commercial benefit. If you bring a technology which doesn't give a commercial benefit, that is not a technology. Industry at least wants it. Academics, yes, answer is yes. But only for academics, don't develop a technology. Develop it has to be commercial benefit. And unfortunately, let's look at Indian customers. Indian customer wants not logical benefit, they want mathematical benefit. That means they want the numbers. Earlier consumption was, new consumption is 80, so I'm saving 20. If I say, no, you save the CO2, the stories, they said, no, management buy the stories. That's maybe honor to put in their balance sheet. No, management chairman can give a speech. We have reduction so and so. Numbers we had checked. And go to that chairman and ask him, sir, this is a project which I'll say only CO2, no energy. He said, go and jump in the lake. I don't care for you. Let's look at psychology of an Indian customer. Indian customers needs mathematical saving. In this whole story, this gentleman come in picture. No ESCO has enough money to finance it on his own. He needs bank support. He needs investor support. He needs money, finance for doing the ESCO project. There are number of institutes we are willing to finance, but They ask few questions which is answer are as of today unknown. How do suppose your customer doesn't pay? What you will do? You know our legal system is so weak on financial offender. Nothing can be done. 10 years at least, 20 years. So only way to left with the investor and he to go to bankrupt, which investor will never do. ESCO may. Am I right? So today that's a need of the hour. If energy efficiency projects need to be promoted on little larger scale, there has to be payment security come through the some system by which investor is willing to invest and ESCO is willing to provide solution to the industry on ESCO basis. So this is one of the real catch as of today exists in the system. But say I'll tell you, in spite of if there is a will, there is a road. Let me tell you. Now, World Bank has come out with the called PRGS, Partial Risk Guarantee Scheme. What is that? If your project is of $100, you get protected for $75 through the PRGS. If you get the finance from nodal agency like CDP. But see, that process is so critical, I will say, not practical, that you have to make that FIR, you have to go to the police station, you have to go case, run for whatever 3-4 years, and then you get that money. It is as good as delayed justice is no justice. That's no use. Okay. There has to be a mechanism. Few countries in the world, I will not like to name because it's not worth naming that country. What is that they did? They made it compulsory. Look, your cement plant, your steel plant, who you may be, you have to bring down so and so. You don't have money, go to the government approved ESCO, take the solution from him, and you see that you pay him. If he doesn't pay, his power supply has been stopped by government. What? He cannot keep his hundreds of crores of asset idle just for few lakhs of rupees. He pays. So in China, ESCO business is as large as 1.2 billion, 1.5 billion. 10,000 करोड़ का बिजनेस है. लास्ट 17 साल से काम कर रहे हैं, हम 100 करोड़ भी नहीं है. Why? There is no potential? There is enough of potential. What is the problem? Payment security. Why we don't? We have enough solution? Answer is yes. We have enough customer? Yes. Because customer has two issues. Arjun has covered up that. He has a priority to invest on his growth, his raw material, his different processes. He energy saving, he loves, but with somebody else's money. So these are the problems. But friends, I will tell you, I'm not here to absolutely discouraging man. I will tell you there's a huge, huge future for energy efficiency. B, lot of innovation need to be driven on energy efficiency. I will tell you digitization. I'll just sum up one small thing to tell you. There's a company called Eugene at USA. They come out with a digital twin for the cement plant, sinter plant. That digital twin, they applied in different parts of the world, but in India, they have worked with one of the Tata's company. Results are amazing. They increased on the same asset production by 11%. They reduced their carbon emission by 5%. They reduce their return of material, that is called rejection, let's call it in other words, rejection by again 12%, and is a subscription model, and their monthly saving works out to be, in their customers' words, is 84 CR. Sorry, 84 lakhs monthly saving. I'm sorry, 84 lakhs. And what subscription they are asking? 6 lakhs per month. Don't you feel it's amazing? It's a digitization. It's a digital twin. And digital twin is applicable to irrespective of the industry, whichever the field you are in. So you guys are innovators. You guys are knowing about this new technologies. We are old hands. हम अभी भी हमको अच्छी तरह से मेल नहीं लिखने को आता है, तब because we don't know, we have not heard of computer nowadays. So please do a lot of innovation. There is a huge scope, and today a lot of angel investors like him are available to work with you. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time. Bye.
Thank you, sir. So, both Arjun and Mr. Shah have talked about how the ESCO opportunity exists, how it is to be simplified at work in the building and the industry space. And so that makes my work easier. So I'm going to talk about three things. First, I'll spend a minute about the context. We had some hints on the context. I'll talk a minute about the context. Second, Seekers Finance is a debt financier. We fund across solar, electric vehicles, energy efficiency, wastewater recycling. We provide loans. And we try to not feel Shylockian when we are trying to do that. But our specialization is when we look at projects, we have to differentiate between first of a kind and nth of a kind. So I'll talk a bit about that. How do we go and understand what is nth of a kind? Because usually mainstream lenders come in when it's n raised to something of a kind, and they're very, very hesitant to come in earlier. And for us, the trap is we don't want to fund first of a kind because debt has to be paid in all conditions. Third, I'm going to talk about in the market, in the context of the Indian market from ESCO financing perspective, what could be some possible enablers? It's not necessarily a comprehensive or a exhaustive list, but some of the enablers which would allow us to scale it the way solar financing is scaling up, the way electric vehicle financing is scaling up, how potentially ESCO financing could also scale up. So first, the context. From an Earth system perspective, we are exceeding biophysical limits of Earth on multiple dimensions. Energy is one of those dimensions. Resources is another dimension. And these are interlinked, right? So whenever we think somebody is using material ineffectively, material productivity is important, energy productivity is important, there is a solution which needs to be done, just because we all want to make sure that our children, our grandchildren have an Earth which is inhabitable and have a standard of living which is what we would want them to enjoy, right? There is a lot of literature out on biophysical limits. Potsdam Institute has spearheaded that work. If anyone has not perused it, please go ahead and see what it says. Second, from an Indian industry competitiveness perspective, it is utterly vital, as Mr. Shah articulated, right? Cement has gone to a level. Many other industries are much below. Except for coal and biomass, most of our energy costs much higher than what any other emerging market economy pays. So it is vital for people to stop thinking FOIA alone and start thinking competitiveness. And competitiveness can come out of digitization, can come out of innovation, and can come out of material and energy productivity. So that's the context, and I'm not going to belabor the context beyond this. The second point is, what is our trade as seekers when we are looking at the projects, right? We typically try and look at nth of a kind projects, which means grants or equity or bootstrap models need to have taken out the risk of the technology and the business model. There needs to be a track record. Now, somebody may ask for 100 projects as a track record. We get in much earlier, but we still need a track record. What we are seeing in the track record, A, does the ESCO or the innovator or the company applying to us understand the technology, maybe not as an inventor, but as a user? Second, have they demonstrated an ability to understand contracting and project documentation, right? That's again a point where lots of failures happen. Third, especially if they are going to go into ESCO, do they understand investment underwriting? So you take a project which is sitting in a lab, it goes through multiple TRL stages before it can hit the field, multiple CRL stages before it can get commercialized. What that framework emphasizes is there is a kind of capital which takes the risk as you move up that ladder. When we see ESCOs or when we see energy efficiency companies' track record of saving, we get into their data to analyze. We understand, we talk to customers, we look at track record. Doesn't mean the next project cannot fail, but if you have a track record, you can understand on these three, and there are more, but these three critical dimensions. Do you understand technology? Do you understand contracting? And have you demonstrated that understanding in terms of contracts being signed? And do you understand underwriting, right? Like, we can cover for some amount of underwriting gaps by sharing our know-how. We worked with some of our early stage ESCOs on that. We cannot cover for a poorly written contract because usually the customer at the other side is fixated. Now I have signed this, you deliver. And as Mr. Shah said, the customer says either I hang, not preferred, or you hang, right? So the contract is written saying clause 1, the ESCO will hang, clause 2, the ESCO will hang, clause 3, the ESCO will hang, right? Now if you have a contract which is written like that, and at the end it will be said, notwithstanding anything written here and above, I can walk away from this contract any point of time. And all the assets you put on my, which are on my premises are anyway mine, right? Now that is not a kind of contract anyone can finance, right? Because it means heads I win, tails you lose, right? So this becomes very important for us when we are looking at it because we are wanting to make sure that if we fund 100 projects, the money comes back for 100 projects. We don't take upside, or we normally don't take upside, right? The upside belongs to the innovator and to the equity providers, but therefore we cannot be designed for downside, right? So for us, when we are looking at areas, we look at how it has moved from first of a kind to nth of a kind at the at global level, then industry level, and then for the particular innovator who has come there, right? We have funded some projects where we have funded within the first 100 installations globally of that technology. That gives us extreme discomfort because we should not be funding in India first, I mean, unless it's coming out of a lab in India, within first 100 installations. Means not enough has been seen in terms of engineering, reliability, performance, situation handling for there to be a safety factor. So basis this, we have funded in both industrial context and commercial contexts, places where we are able to see this. And I don't envy the point, I think Arjun highlighted, I don't envy the point that when the ESCO walks into the floor, right, everyone's pulling them in a different direction. The CFO has different lens, the plant manager has a different lens, the procurement manager has a different lens. And that's why you see sometimes ESCOs having simplified approaches, just buy my box, right? Whereas you need a solution. And by the time you have struggled to put the solutions through, the finance manager starts, the ESCO is like, where is the dotted line I'll sign, right? Whatever is a contract, right? That doesn't help you to create a scalable business, right? So that's where the simplicity and parameters which Arjun said are important, and that's what is the thing which allows us to fund. So that's part 2. Happy to take questions on that if there is a Q&A portion. Part 3 is what could scale the ESCO market in India, given that there are so many different solutions, right, which are coming up. Each of the solutions has a limited number of players offering it. I think first and foremost is we need more innovators in the market. We need more replicators following those innovators. That's how solar has scaled. That's how electric vehicles is scaling. Still a lot of unanswered questions in parts of electric vehicles. And that starts creating the ecosystem of forward, side, and back people in the ecosystem which support those innovators, right? So that is step 1. Incubators and innovators like ecosystems like what IIT Madras is doing is an essential element of it. Probably we need to put 2 orders of magnitude impetus for this to improve. Second is in terms of just the contract performance area. Mr. Shah mentioned it. We have articulated earlier to people like BEE. They are supporting ESCOs very well in terms of codes and support. If they start arbitration centers, technical arbitration centers, even one in each region, if not each state capital, a lot more of the technical disputes can be solved. What we have seen is usually it's poorly written baselines or poorly drafted formulas. When they go into it, the court system cannot handle it. If BEE, or if they handle it, it's after 10 years, right? And money is lost because you have a project which has a 1-year payback and you are in the court hearing about it 10 years later, right? There is a lot of value destroyed. So if they have an arbitration mechanism or any other mechanism like that, it could be done by the industrial development bodies of the state. That again allows people to say, okay, what is the real issue? An engineer or engineering mind applies and says, who is in the right? And basis that performance starts. Often that nudge is needed. When you're in the court, it's usually the legal department, and the legal department doesn't give up for a large company, right? They will go to Supreme Court. If there's something above that, they will go there, right? But if it's an engineering argument, if you have an engineering arbitration, usually an engineer will see logic, right? Third, again, Mr. Shah highlighted in terms of the performance guarantee structures, very beautifully written in terms of the guarantee from the SIDBI scheme. If the implementation fails to achieve the desired savings, still you can make a demand for a payment. 50, 75% coverage is there. Amounts are adequate. Point is, it is a payment payer of last resort, right? If court takes 10 years, they want to take 2 years, right? Whereas most of these structures, neither the ESCO balance sheet nor a smaller financier balance sheet can support a 2-year or a 10-year process to recover money. Eventually, you end up saying, hey, ESCO, put in your own property as collateral. We don't do that, but that's what usually banks end up demanding. Or if the guarantee cover is 75%, the balance 25% needs to be covered by property collateral. And it all goes to, goes for a toss. We are seeing much more success of renting out in contexts where there are specific product packages. Laptops can be rented and recovered. Cranes can be rented and recovered. Vehicles can be rented and recovered, right? That same mindset goes away when you're looking at a solution, right? Because the solution is not a box. It's not a simple thing that I drove a crane. Now I'm doing what I'm doing with it. Once it's a solution, we need an easier mechanism of enforcement of gap, whether it's a gap because of a project issue, or it's a gap because of a client issue, or a gap because of contract denial, right? So we would strongly suggest the risk support structures become more front-loaded than back-loaded, right? I think there is a lot of potential because what I see when I'm walking here and I'm seeing the innovators and the pitches, both on hardware and software, there's a lot of innovation happening. And we need to create the path for that innovation to reach the mainstream industries. What we see today as the industrial base, 20 years later will be 3x or 6x. And therefore, that industrial base, if it moves to the lower cost models, starts trusting the ESCO ecosystem, we are going to increase the cost competitiveness and global competitiveness of the industry and decarbonize at the same time.
Just one point, and then we'll open it up. I think we'd love to hear questions and what you guys want to actually learn from us. I think I'll just complement one point. You mentioned a lot of things that are required for the industry to succeed. I think one of the main things required is more talent in the industry itself. I think a lot of times, like I work a lot in cooling. Now, cooling about 20 years ago was the last career choice of any mechanical engineer, right? They wanted to go into automobile manufacturing, making other equipment. But cooling is like if you don't get a job, you go into cooling, right? So when I'm trying to scale up on the cooling side, I find a dearth of talent, driven, motivated, high quality people who can actually work and innovate in the area, and also just passion for the subject. So I feel like that's something that it's our responsibility to motivate people to come into the sector. So I'd like to, call out to people who are here, young people who want to innovate. The fundamentals are aligned with us in energy efficiency. It is actionable today. It is very, very, very scalable solutions. It is the most profitable way to combat climate change, right? And carbon safe today obviously is much more worth than carbon safe 10 years from now. So we don't need breakthrough technology innovations today as much. We need over time. But we already have a lot of solutions today. So it's an amazing area, right? And so call out to all the innovators and young people here to join energy efficiency workforce. I think that nothing will scale up the industry more than talented people like the ones that are in the room here today. So thank you. And we'll call for questions. If anybody wants to know anything from three of us, that'll be great. Tough questions also welcome. Yes. Yes, please. Yeah, we'll pass on a mic.
Yeah, it's very heartening to see three engineering professionals there, trying to make a difference. And my name is Shivaraman. I work very closely with Professor Satyanarayana Sheshadri. Okay, I happen to, I'm a retired person, but have a little bit of interest in this area, and I do some pro bono work for a not-for-profit called IWMA. So we have one of our charters now, fortunately, where there's some alignment, is to get some young engineers, and not from IITs, because no IIT engineer wants to get into this as of now, as I understand today, which Professor Satyanarayana Sheshadri can validate or whatever. But there are a lot of people from Tier 2 colleges, Tier 3 colleges, and we are helping them to, skill them. We are trying to now recruit only masters in energy, because we have two charters. One is to help industries who are our members. We have some 3,500 industry members in Tamil Nadu, and we want to help them learn and see, talk like you people with passion about energy efficiency and how it can make a difference, and then implement it in their industries. But our success rates have been very low. What we have succeeded a little bit is thanks to Professor Satyanarayana Sheshadri and his Industrial Energy Assessment Center, is that we are able to skill them to some extent. We are trying to motivate them to get to clearing the BE exam and so on. And with his team, they are partnering and doing energy assessments. But we are not able to motivate MSME sector, which is a large percentage of our members, the owners. And the owners are all really first generation entrepreneurs. They may not have gone to an engineering college. They may have circumstances which did not allow them to go to an engineering college. And definitely they think IIT is a high elite organization. I come from IIT, but they think IIT is an elite organization not meant for them. So therefore, there is a problem in the MSME sector. So I can't penetrate them. I struggle penetrating the mindset of the owners of MSME, who may be able to talk in local vernacular well, and they have even lesser knowledgeable people who are their chief engineers, who may be at best a technician who has grown up to become the chief engineer, but they have a 6 crore energy bill per year, which is not small. And the potential that IEAC has identified in one of those companies is not less than 10%, which is money on the table. Okay, but I just not been able to succeed with motivating these MSMEs, which is about 40% of the country, or some large number, large percentage like this. Can you people try to what you can call evangelize this to the MSME sector? That's the help I'm looking for from the three of you. How can you do that for me?
Thank you. I'll try to address a couple of points that you made. Firstly, I think one has to understand that what we are trying to do is not only a technical or an engineering challenge. I'll just pick on the example that you mentioned. 6 crore energy bill, 10% savings possible, and I'm sure the payback period is 2 years or less. This is the story of every building and every factory in India. Minimum 10% savings, 2-year payback. Okay. Now the problem is, why doesn't it happen? And you mentioned chief engineers, general managers, operations guys, etc. have to make a decision, right? That I want to do this, which is very difficult to get them to make a decision. So I think one has to look at it much broader than finance and technology. One has to understand people. So what we started doing, okay, we faced as company SmartJuice a lot of pushback from the engineering staff. They said, who are you? I have been running this building for 20 years. You are going to come and save energy in my building? You're going to make me look bad in front of my management, right? They're going to say, why haven't you done this yourself? So they don't want you there. So I think mindset, understanding and how to motivate them is very important. So what we started doing is thinking about what is in it for every individual, right? What is in it for a chief engineer? Why will they want to work with us? Why will a manager want to work with us? Why will an operator want to tell his management, yes, I want SmartJuice to be here? So you have to systematically think about that. So what we started doing, for example, is chief engineer. You think about his life. A chief engineer's life is totally unglamorous. You'll never find them on a stage talking, being appreciated, people clapping for them. You'll never find it. So what we started doing, every time we approach a customer, we tell them, we are going to win you an award. We are going to apply for the award. You are going to go on stage to collect the award. So for first 10 customers of ours, we won them national awards in energy efficiency. We did not go to collect it. Our customer chief engineer went to collect it. They got their photo clicked with the Minister of Power and President of India and this and that. And now they love us. So when we go and sell to the next customer, we show their pictures. We don't tell them you're going to save this much money because you know what? The chief engineer doesn't care. He's not getting part of that money. His company is getting. So why will he say yes to you? Right? But he cares if his photo is being clicked with the Prime Minister or the President or this, because then he's going to go and show off to all his friends and his family. Right? So I think one has to think from people perspective, and then there will be a lot of acceleration of progress. We have seen this work, and converting the pushback from the people who need to make a decision and bringing them to our, to support us. So this is one example. I think MSME sector in general is quite hard, distributed, and they want to know everything. They'll say, what are you going to do exactly? How much it is going to cost? And then they'll say, what is your cost of capital? And instead of you doing it, I'll do it myself, and then they'll never do it themselves. So you are in a particularly very difficult situation. But I think another thing that works, right? One is to think about people incentive. And the other thing that works is hero examples, right? Everybody in India likes to follow other people, I think, right? Everybody wants to be first, to be second. Nobody wants to be first. So if you're able to establish a success story with people who they look up to in their own industry, right? For example, we work a lot in healthcare. Now in healthcare, the biggest guy in the world, in India, is Apollo. So if we are able to take an example of Apollo to another hospital, then they say, oh, you have done it in Apollo, I also want it. So that's establishing a visible success that you can then go and sell in the same sector to people who respect that success is another method that has worked really well. So these are two things that I can offer, but hopefully.
As you rightly said, MSME is the largest sector where there is a huge amount of opportunities because they are working traditionally. They don't have technical expertise available on, at least on energy, because they can't afford to have it. That is a reality. They are going through many problems. There's this PF, ESI, there's bank loan. They honestly, they have no infrastructure or down the line the organization who can take care of everything. So energy efficiency is a very, very low key handling in any MSME. But with all these negatives, there is a very positive thing, part of it. I'm not talking about a micro small, but definitely I'm talking about medium scale industries. If you take the right project to them and one has to get him from what you call payment security is one big issue, but there is always an MSME. SIDBI is very kind to MSME, at least on paper. That's don't laugh here. I am talking reality. Okay. So SIDBI is very kind, and if MSME approach them, just tell them that this is the energy efficiency project. I want under the PRGS, because PRGS rule is very simple. Either buyer should be MSME or seller should be MSME. Means ESCO should be MSME or customer should be MSME. In that PRGS scheme is valid. And many, at least those who are in 100 crores or range, they are started. I will tell you one of the case is a forging industry. Forging industry has many gas-based furnaces. In the gas-based furnaces, huge amount of waste heat is getting wasted in the forging when they are heat up to 800, 1200 degrees centigrade for. There's this new technology has come up with called regenerative burners. The regenerative burners can take up that heat, and incoming gas or air can be heated up, by which your gas consumption gets reduced by 30 to 40%. So many MSME range 100 crores or 80 crores or this range, forging industries are adopting this. I have an experience. We have did an ESCO with 2-3 companies, and they are happy. We are happy because they have rather जैसे हम बोलते हैं ना, गरीब शर्म ज़्यादा संभालता है, वो बड़े तो इज्जत वो बोलते हैं नहीं हमारे पास पैसे है, इज्जत क्या लेनी है, इज्जत आती है ऑटोमेटिक. So they always care for that, whether they have been paying that. Only thing we ask for them, that get a bank letter, out of his account, we have claim on his this much EMI per month. And on that simple, because they are not able to give bank guarantees. And it's working out for at least in the range of, I'll not use the somebody who is 30 crore or 20 crore, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about somebody who's at that. But that is an area where actually, see, I'll tell you, there are good amount of schemes. People are not approaching the B or ESL. ESL is willing to take the risk, like I4 Motors, very simple example. ESL has a program that they will finance the scheme for I4 Motors. Just replace your small, and what is happening, that because old motors are 85% efficient, today's new i4 motors are 92%, 93% efficient. So it's a 7% is a very good saving, and payback is generally 1 year, 1.5 years. So this is only for MSME. So first is they don't have the awareness. What are the different schemes are available for them energy efficiency. Two, as Arjun has said, their mindset. People's mindset on the shop floor or owner, आप हमें सिखाओगे क्या? मैं 20 साल से यहाँ हूँ. ये जो mindset है, that you cannot beat. You have to say, मैं सिखाने नहीं आया हूँ, मैं आपको बोलने आया हूँ सर, मैं सिखाने तो बिल्कुल किसी को जाता नहीं हूँ. So that's, if you ask me 3 years back of MSME's awareness, today, I will say it has improvised by 20%. I'll not say it is improvised to the great extent, but it has improvised. But a lot of is to be done on this by everyone, right from, as you rightly said, right from the technical institute. So there has to be some MSME seminars in which some technical people like IIT Satya should go and tell, or people like Arjun should go and tell the young, there is a good opportunity. You have different schemes are available. Use those schemes. There's no, your risk is minimized. I'll not say removed, but minimized. Okay.
Yeah. So this is Prashant here, and this is for you on the contract side. You talked about contract documentation. So I had two questions there. When do you come with respect to the ESCO companies? Do you start in the beginning, or you come towards the end of the contract is already done? And second question is, you said Jayant, right? I mean, you said 100 projects to be done before you start financing. That's way too long, I believe. I mean, for an Indian context point of view, if you're already executing 100 projects, probably I wouldn't need financing as such.
Sure. So I'll take the second question first. Second number, when I put 100, was for global. So if you invent a new doohickey to make steel from electricity, there needs to be 100 installations before we would think the technology is stable, right? It's not there's 100, there's 1,000. Usually in India, stuff reaches when it is 10,000 plus. We have funded some in the first 0 to 100, and that makes us uncomfortable because we don't think globally people understand all the issues with that technology, right? The exception we have made in India is obviously for technologies invented in Indian labs, because obviously it cannot have 1,000 or 10, 100 or 1,000 global installations. But if you are adopting a technology from Sweden or China or Canada, right, it has to be by a company which has done more, or the industry should have done 100 installations plus. Right? Going back to the first one from a contract performance perspective, as we said, we typically look at the first set of projects which the ESCO has completed successfully. We look at the elements of how the baselining was done, how the project documentation or the contract documentation was done. And if they have done financing contracts before, we look at what are the gaps in those contract documents. We create simple frameworks so that my team can also understand it doesn't need to come to the experts of the team alone. And based on those frameworks, we go back to people and say, hey, the contracts you are currently in the stage of drafting or finalizing, these are the 3 areas which are missing, right? Usually baseline, consequences of baseline, lender rights, step-in rights, substitution rights, what to do in case of things happen this way, that way. They are either conflicting or missing or poorly defined, right? We are not getting into boilerplate stuff like, hey, who's party A, who's party B. We are looking at commercially relevant or contractually relevant, realistic stuff, right? So, of course, if they've signed the contract, we have limited choice. Mostly large people do not change the contract, which is why we look at the past 3 or 5 or sample contracts and point out the gaps in them. No, we won't come in before, right? Because as I said, we are nth of a kind financier, not first of a kind financier. But I'll give to Mr. Shah. He also has inputs on that.
I have a question to you only. Okay. As you rightly said, the right contract draft is extremely important from your financing point of view. Suppose he is a new startup and he has come to you that yes, I did 2-3 projects, now I want to do now I want to do further on ESCO. Do you help him to give us some standard drafts of the financing A? B, you can maybe, as you rightly said, generally the customer, too much hard draft, customer doesn't accept. So, but some 2-3 templates by which he can put his draft, and which will help these guys to technically, because they can't afford legal experts to go back to him and ask for the draft and everything. If people like you help him, that will be great to it.
So the short answer is yes on both. So we would help them with inputs on what is missing in the contract. We also suggest to them that there are simplified contracts possible. We have limited times help them access legal help to draft those simplified contracts, but our problem is typically lawyers don't understand simplified contracts either. So we usually tell them, I mean, yeah, it's actually, incentives are misaligned. Like if a lawyer writes a simple contract, then you're firing maybe 90% of lawyers, right? So they don't want to beggar them and their successors. But what we typically say is if you can just list down on the scenarios which you are going to face clearly, succinctly, mathematically, usually the language follows, right? So that's what we focus on. poorly defined baselines was an example. That is something we will look at in the contract. How many hours did you walk the factory before you concluded this is the baseline and this is the saving? A lot of projects die on that particular baseline chasm. I mean, it creates value of death for the project success, right? And that might be because the procurement manager was interested, but the factory manager was not interested, right? Similarly, all things you wrote beautifully, the finance manager says, I will pay when I want to pay in circumstances ABC. If we see that, we say, no, this cannot belong here. Or the point I made about everything else in the contract is void, I can walk out of a contract anytime with no consequences. So some of those things we help people with.
Yeah, we'll take one more question, then we'll end. Yeah.
To Arjun sir, as an early stage technical startup, should you be focusing on working with a ESCO or directly with the clients by becoming an ESCO? And also to Ajit sir, as an ESCO, what would you look for in an early stage startup so you can start piloting or collaborating with them?
First is startup should not get into the ESCO himself. Because the two reasons, A, he will not get that PRGS scheme unless you are grade 1 ESCO. Generally, PRGS scheme, they are little hesitant to provide. So you don't get a grade 1 ESCO certification unless you have proven technical and financial capabilities. There is a qualification criteria. So startup should not get into that. Startup should tie up with one of the ESCOs, and he should be technically able to convince that ESCO, yes, look, my solution technically is absolutely no problem. Commercially, you design it. Okay? Then together, you can again go under the PRGS scheme. So there is also ESCO gets some protection if you fail to borrow. We cannot demand anything from you because you are just startup. We have to accept it. But if anybody has this type of things, you're most welcome, because now I think we have started that as a service, that we want to help all startups providing their solution under the ESCOs as long as they are technically capable to prove that. For the reason, unless, see, when you don't have track record, they need a track record. You don't have track record. So you have problems. That doesn't mean your innovation should die. No. So it is the responsibility of the senior people like me to hang themselves again, because hanging ourselves is our आदत हो गया हमको, और we don't die. Thank you very much.
So
I hope I answered your question.
we'll just have some parting words. Then final, I'd like to ask you all in 1 or 2 sentences to share, like, you know, by the time you're done with your career, what is your commitment to the world of sustainability? What is the impact that you will have made, right? And your promise to this group over here. And same question for you.
So, my ambition is to join Arjun's mafia. But more serious note, I'm inspired by people like Sir, who's founded ProClean. You're sitting here. I don't think there is an end of career I'm looking at if I'm looking at sustainability, right? Whenever I think that I am older than people around me, I find people who are starting out or who have started out, yes, and they're just getting begun on their journey, right? The search for material productivity, resource productivity, energy efficiency, clean energy is not going to go away. Therefore, what we can choose to do is to walk, use my feet, walk into that area and work in that area. That's what I'm doing.
Great, thank you. And sir, for yourself, any vision that you have for your contribution you want to make?
Yeah, yes. I'm as young as 75, so I have nothing. But I can tell you, energy efficiency is my passion. Helping startup or innovators is my, again, a passion, because until our ecosystem becomes that strong, that automatically you get what financial or the entry level with the customer, because our mindset is not, आपने कहीं किया नहीं है, तो thank you very much. I can tell you there is one gentleman who has developed heat pipe in India, first time for the industrial application. He was not getting breakthrough. I was knowing him well, but I was knowing his father well, so I have told him that now you don't go to any banker. Don't go. Tell your customer, I don't know, technically I know your product. Technically I know you are extremely capable. He says, Uncle, it's about 1 crore plus. I said, don't worry. We will finance you. But let's not this technology die. This is extremely, in spite of normal heat exchanger, this heat pipe heat exchanger is extremely efficient, maybe about 60% higher efficient. So that's what at least until my last day, I will like to do that.
Awesome. Great. Applause for that. That is amazing. For myself, I think by the time I'm done with my career, at least India will be the most sustainably cooled country in the world. That is one. Second is, at least climate action and climate tech in India would be a default career choice for all young people, like IT was in India and has been for the last 20 years. And, the Sustainability Mafia, which is a non-profit that I'm part of, a lot of people are, here contributing to that. Each and every one of you will have a way to kind of contribute and be part of the movement to make climate the default career choice and sustainability the default choice for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Arjun, Ajit, Jayant. Impressive. I think 3 guys who have been doing a lot of work in the respective domains. One in industry, deep industrial energy efficiency. One, commercial buildings has been extremely successful, Arjun. And the third, using the lever of finance for energy efficiency. Very inspiring and very insightful. Thank you very much, guys. Those of you who want to meet them, you can meet them off the stage. My pleasure now to invite to the stage Rohan Parikh. Many of you will know him. And so fitting to have him give the mementos to them. Rohan perhaps was one of the first architects for getting a large company into energy efficiency, sustainability, and the large company is Infosys. He was the CSO of Infosys when it graduated from a traditional large software company to a highly efficient, highly sustainable software company. Rohan, maybe a couple of words and then give them the mementos.
Yeah, thanks, Narasimhan, for inviting me here today. A great session, Arjun and all of you, Mr. Shah. A fabulous session and very good insights to all of you. So this is a forum really where you have to share great ideas and success stories so that you can encourage people to also get into this area. Thank you.
Thanks, Rohan.